Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Trevor.
And this is VTV, the definitive podcast for all things LGBTQ focused.
Where we explore the intersection of queer travel, pop culture, and the progressive perspectives of our community.
Let's get to it.
Okay, it's a big day for us. It's our first day of filming for the podcast. Oh my gosh, should we do a cheers?
Yeah.
Cheers on first episode. I got little fun jitters and butterflies.
Trevor, with all of the podcasts that exist in the world, why is VACAYA starting a podcast?
Because we're fun and excited. No, I think there's a multitude of reasons that VACAYA should have a podcast. One of them is it's a great way for us to showcase our brand values. We'll share stories that highlight our dedication to inclusivity and diversity and how we create safe travel spaces within our LGBT community. I think it's very difficult to find those, and VACAYA does an incredible job at doing that. And at the same time, we'll discuss important issues and showcase how these values are woven into our guests' vacation. And to piggyback off of kind of showcasing all the perspectives, I think a podcast does an incredible job. And my hope for this one is enhancing our community engagement by kind of creating this direct and very authentic line of communication within the LGBT community and honestly getting some insights into some really cool, very fun people. It's through this engagement that I'm very hopeful that we'll attract new customers who might have not heard of VACAYA or have maybe thought about it, and now they're getting a better in-depth feel of what the VACAYA experience is, that those new guests will get a way to interact with our current guests and strengthen the bond within them, and hopefully everybody resonates with what our brand value is and our mission.
Another reason we're doing this podcast is to share our diverse perspectives. We're amplifying the voices of our entertainers, our VACAYA guests, and our VACAYA collaborators. This podcast will deliver valuable resources and cultural insights for listeners, tailored to LGBT plus travelers and their straight allied friends.
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about how we got here and what brought you to VACAYA.
One of my mentors was Matt Palazzolo, who worked for VACAYA, and he brought me in to help establish what VACAYA's brand is going to be. And unexpectedly and tragically, he passed away. So VACAYA asked me to save the day, in a sense, to finish where he left off. He was such a sweet guy. Every time I make a video, it feels like I'm trying to live up to his legacy of expanding that love and that connectiveness.
And when you say make a video, for those of our listeners that don't know, what is kind of your role here at VACAYA?
I help shape a brand identity for VACAYA in the guest experience. So we tried to capture that and portray that as best we can. So
if you're on a VACAYA trip, if you've been on one, you've definitely seen Kevin running around capturing video content along with along with me. Yeah. So I've been a part of the VACAYA family. Fortunately, from the first trip, I got to experience it from the guest perspective with Kevin. And, over the last 3-4 years, I've gotten to be a part of the actual team, helping run the social media and working on marketing. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while now. And it's exciting that we're finally at a point where we're getting to have the time and the resources to do it. And the goal of it really is to help the VACAYA message reach more people, because it's completely changed the course of my life and my sense of self and identity. I've always felt very secure in, I think very safe in my ability to express myself. So to be here in this moment and to finally get to do this and to get to do it with you is just really exciting.
Yes. And you're proving the intention behind having you on these trips, and why I was lucky to have you on these trips, because you are so energetic, entertaining, electric, and it helps, connect people in that electricity.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet, Kev.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry first episode. We're not even 5 minutes in. I'm gonna start tearing up.
Being able to get to experience these unbelievable locations and unbelievable experiences and meet unbelievable people, that is my biggest takeaway, is the people I have met. I was just in DC visiting someone I met on a VACAYA trip.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find people at their most authentic because I feel like in those instances, you can really connect with somebody easily, like more easy than you could in another context. I'll just say that, I think of these people that I've met consistently, and they have enhanced my life. Even the people who work at VACAYA.
Oh, 100%.
I think about them in such a positive light as like a best friend and a coworker.
And family.
And so that's how it's changed my life. How has it changed your life?
With those first few trips as a guest, I always felt very comfortable in my being and my sexuality, and I had no idea how much more expansive life can feel when you get the opportunity to be in a space that completely allows you to
be yourself.
And that is what VACAYA does. And so now getting to be on the other side of it, helping, that message come across to new people, I take it as a huge gift and a huge responsibility, because I want everybody that is in our community to get that experience, because it really is life-changing. Like I kind of said, it's completely changed my perspective on how comfortable I was in my skin, and I don't know if that ever stops. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing to always strive to kind of evolve and think that, oh, okay, wow, now I'm wearing 2019 first inaugural cruise, didn't bring one Speedo on my trip.
Just sweaters.
Yeah, just sweaters. But now every trip, I don't know if I even bring swim shorts anymore. It's either a Speedo or a thong bathing suit. So my little pancake butt is out in the open. So I think in that, there is an element of, I don't know, I use the word surrender because I feel like in some instances, I feel like I had walls up for a long time of protecting who I was, because I think most people within any sort of minority group within the LGBT community, or whether that's, because you're a woman or your race or whatever that is, you have to put up some walls to make sure that you're protecting yourself. And it is very surreal to enter a space for 7, 14, 10 days, however long that is. And over time, those walls just get a little bit lower and lower and lower. And it's scary in many ways, but then you leave that time and you're just like, wow, okay.
Also, it's a lot of work to put up a wall.
Oh, yeah.
So when that comes down, it's like, oh my God, there's this relief. I mean, I imagine.
Yeah, there's a sense of levity for sure. Yeah.
It's hopefully a relief that continues beyond just our trip. It's a relief that is enhancing your life beyond an experience.
Yes, your daily life. I feel like my daily life is completely changed and altered for the better. And then to get to do it with someone that I care about immensely and deeply is an added bonus. There is something that is so exciting about going on a trip once a year or a few times a year and seeing those familiar faces. And that's your week that you get. It's kind of like summer camp as an adult. And I don't know about you, but for me, summer camp, I didn't get to be my authentic self. So here's a time where I get to have that experience and that sense of joy of seeing somebody, but then at the same time, not having to feel like I have to hide a huge part of who I am.
I feel like VACAYA is a nucleus for something like that, because once you experience it and experience the people, those people dissipate into the world and you are a part of their world now. At least that's how I see it.
Oh yeah. The amount of we've had so many people come and stay at our house that we've met through VACAYA, traveled and visited people that we've met through VACAYA. Your sense of network becomes worldwide, and there's not many experiences or vacations that is the case. What I've gained from VACAYA is this true sense of meaningful relationships.
Totally.
What are your hopes for this podcast? What's your hope for our listeners?
Well, my hope is to kind of extend what I think I will enjoy about this podcast is the sense of diverse perspectives. I feel like I will learn something valuable from listening to this podcast.
Yeah. And what are some of the things that you want to or you hope to talk about, in this podcast?
Sexual progressiveness. I feel like
okay.
I feel like there is some learning to do and growing to do. And I'm excited about that.
And that's funny because I feel like you're already pretty
Advanced.
some might say. But I mean, I feel like you're pretty open already. And I feel like knowing you for 10 years or so, I feel like I've learned a lot actually from you. And so it's interesting and exciting to hear you want to learn more. You feel like there's more for you to learn, because I feel like I learned from you. So it's interesting.
Like what?
I've learned a lot about polyamory. It's kind of exciting to feel like an educator is also learning.
Always learning. And also, I like to check where I'm at. I like to think that I feel like I know what I'm talking about, but like I'm very open.
Oh, I know you. I know you do. I know you like to think you know what you're talking about.
But I'm also always open to, like, if you have a better idea, I want to know.
Okay, we're going to bookmark that quote. I'm going to need you to edit that clip.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of my hopes is really relaying, the messaging of VACAYA. I think it, like I've said, just within even this time, it really is transformative. And it's exciting to me that we're going to have the opportunity to showcase some of the people that make up VACAYA. We've got some great interviews coming up for this first season, and some really, really mind-blowingly educational stuff when it comes to travel, when it comes to sexual experiences and sex progressiveness, like you mentioned, as well as just different perspectives within the community. We kind of exist at a time where I feel like so much, even within our own community, is so insular. You kind of stick to with what you know and who you're comfortable with. And this is a really exciting venture to allow listeners to hear other people's perspectives and journeys and experiences within the community. It's something that, if you live in a space that's not very LGBT friendly, here's a community that you'll find that allows you to
explore it.
Yeah, it's funny. We've spent so much, or at least for me, I've spent so much of my life trying to figure out what the label is, or how do we define that? And there's so much unlearning that now is taking place that's scary, but also so exciting. And with every interview we do, with every person we talk to, with every VACAYA trip, that sense of unlearning and relearning,
and walls coming down, and feeling more aligned with who you really are, and learning who you really are.
It's so I hope that for our listeners, that's something that you get out of this podcast, is this idea of taking yourself out of what might feel comfortable, or the world that you've allowed yourself to exist in because you've had to. Maybe it's out of fear, maybe it's because you fought for it, maybe it's because it's what feels good. And through listening, through watching, you get to open yourself up to something that might be new, and maybe you'll hear some things that you don't agree with, and that's okay, and that's exciting. I hope that there's a little bit of challenge that comes with this, right?
Well, that's why I said what I said about, like, I want to keep learning, because I'm sure there are better ways to do A, B, and C.
Yeah, totally. And it takes a sense of vulnerability. So my hope is that we all become a little more comfortable being vulnerable with each other, and allowing ourselves to maybe let those walls come down. And I feel like with the interviews that we've gotten the chance to do, we've done that with some fun people.
Definitely. So there's some more than others.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff coming up.
Trevor, what topics can listeners expect from us over time?
One of the biggest things will be, this will kind of be an exclusive place where we will announce new destinations and trip previews, as well as offer some travel hacks, updates when it comes to travel technology and apps that are really beneficial for travelers. I think another thing is, of course, our interviews and talking with people that of very diverse perspectives, and offer some really fun and engaging conversations that hopefully our listeners find very tantalizing.
Yes, tickle a lot of fancies.
Yes, I want every fancy to be tickled.
Great.
You're not ticklish. And also, we're going to talk pop culture. I think it's something that I'm very passionate about. And, you know, within our community, there's so much going on when it comes to pop culture and music and celebrity and headlines and stories that I want to kind of just sit and chat and gab a little bit about it.
Also, like stories from our experiences on these vacations and from
100%.
guests and the party themes and like the looks.
Yes, party themes and looks. I feel like we'll definitely showcase some of our favorite outfits from past trips, as well as, you know, trips coming up. We'll announce what the party themes are for trips. It's gonna be that one stop
for everything VACAYA.
For everything VACAYA, yeah, exactly. The listeners out there are curious. What can we expect for like a release schedule?
Every week, we'll come out with a new episode, and each episode will be 30 to 40 minutes. And that's like perfect time for a walk and listen or a lunchtime break. And each season is going to be about 10 episodes.
Okay, that's great. That's amazing.
We did it. We finished episode 1 of VTV.
It's very
Cheers.
Exciting. Cheers, Kev. To you and to all of you listening, this podcast is made for you. So please send us in questions that you might want answers to, topics that you might find interesting, and share your experiences with VACAYA. We would love to share some of those experiences on air. You can find us and listen to this podcast on Spotify and Apple, and eventually we will hit other platforms, and you can always watch the full episode on our YouTube channel, and you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at MyVACAYA, where you can find sound bites and little previews of episodes to come. So we will see you next time. Great job, Kev.
Great job.
Come on a VACAYA trip and you can shake your little butt too.